Everybody. So welcome to House Calls, the podcast with Ty House and Matt Walger. How you doing,
It's
Matt?
us. Ty, it's good. It's us.
Today's guest is Tom Ripley,
Yes.
who has had a very interesting career in life. And he started off in the family business, which he describes as the Marines,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
So I've been thinking a little bit about that family business thing, and there is a football coach who's in the news right now, Lane Kiffin, who I've been interested in following his career for a long time because he went into the family business.
Right.
So
But
a long
who
time
did his
ago,
dad, Monty, right? His
Monty
dad's
Kiffin, the
right.
famous defensive
Defensive.
coordinator, and a long time ago when I was kind of in my medical training is when he started at USC as a very young offensive coordinator.
Right.
Brilliant coach, but every place he's gone, including being head coach of the Raiders at 32, he's pretty much left in kind of a very chaotic disaster kind of thing.
Every time. Every time.
And for full disclosure, both my daughters went to Ole Miss.
Yep.
And I've enjoyed watching him at Ole Miss. He's done a great job. But what happened this year, maybe the last 2 years, is I started kind of being a cheerleader of the reclamation project. Like kind of the being most improved, that kind of thing. And I mean, off the field, I was impressed that he seemed to be turning his life around. And he talked about he became sober.
Yep.
He got super into yoga,
Whoa.
kind of like other people I know.
Yeah. Okay. I like where this is going.
And he talked about how he wasn't just sober from not drinking alcohol. He became sober in every aspect of his life.
Yeah. Yeah. God, it
His
got
kids
boring.
all moved, or his daughter goes to Ole Miss. His younger son moved to Oxford. His ex-wife moved, so the whole family's together. And I just thought this was going to be the happiest thing ever. And then I remember when all the stuff went down this week, where he left for LSU in kind of strange terms. Your topic of pink clouds.
Yeah.
That
Absolutely.
sometimes people get sober and they think life is great, and they forget that they still have the stuff in the basement that they need to address.
Yep.
And I don't want to be too critical of Lane because he's 50 years old. He still has time to turn stuff around. I don't want to criticize the man in the arena. Like, I don't know the inside outs of what it was like going against teams that might have higher caliber athletes when he goes against the Georgias and the Alabamas, and that might be frustrating. But honestly, I'm like, with the NIL money Louisiana has, the history that they've won championships before. If you and I were, if I was the head coach of LSU and you
Right.
were my offensive coordinator, we'd be in the playoffs within 2 years. I mean, we have the fastest growing podcast around, and I mispronounce half the big words.
Yeah.
Like,
No, you do.
obviously, we could win an NCAA football team if we had more cap money or NIL money than
Yeah.
anybody else.
Absolutely.
So my thing is just this guy needs to address the stuff in the basement, because if he wins a championship, it's going to be kind of like, yeah, a ton of people won championships there. So then what's the next step? Now you got to go to the NFL to win a Super Bowl. And are you ever going to be happy? Not until you address the stuff in the basement.
Wow. Okay. You came out swinging.
I came out swinging.
Yeah, you did.
And
Okay.
I had interest because obviously I
Yeah.
went into the family business. And when you hear about people going into family business, like joining the Marines is a different level of family
Absolutely.
business. But then there's other things where you join the family business, but you have to get in, you have to pass the test, you have to
Right. You
succeed.
can
And
get in, but to move forward, yeah,
yeah, and
you got to
football's
do
the
it on you.
ultimate meritocracy. Like, if he wasn't
Right.
winning, he would have been fired a long time ago.
I agree with everything you said. Wonder if he eats Twizzlers, I'm going to be very interested in following his career. Same as you, followed Lane Kiffin. I was hoping he was going to stay. What a great story that is, that you took second tier SEC team and made him a winner. And
Yeah.
I think right now with NIL money, you can do that, very easily. And I just thought that would have been such a cool thing to happen. What a
And it's
great
been done
story.
before where coaches have
Yes.
left teams, but he left for an in-team rival in the middle. Like, he's basically leaving a team in the contention for
Yeah.
a championship to try to build a team that's not even in the playoffs. It's
Right.
like, yes, they have all the fundamentals. If he had left to coach the Dallas
Towson?
Cowboys,
Yeah.
I don't think anybody would be criticism, because he would have
Right.
finished the season and then he would
Yeah.
have gone to the NFL season.
Yeah, and it's kind of like if he goes to LSU and wins a championship next year because of their NIL money, it's almost like when LeBron and Dwayne Wade went to the Heat to kind of orchestrate a championship. It was like, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys
And
should
do
win a
you
championship.
remember who the coach of the Miami Heat was?
Van Gundy?
Okay, you do. I know. I was thinking about today, like, I remember Phil Jackson, I remember
Right.
Red Auerbach, I remember Pat Riley. I don't remember LeBron's coach because it was kinda like they put an all-star team together.
Yeah.
How hard is it to coach him?
Right. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Now,
But yeah.
the other thing though is, like you, he does yoga. Like you,
Yeah.
he's sober.
Yeah.
But you seem to have your stuff more together. I mean, he you're you've been with the same woman for a long time,
I
whereas
have.
Lane appears to be dating a lot of college age girls. And my one thing that is unusual is he embarrassed at all? Like, wouldn't his own daughter who's in college be like, "Dad, what are you doing?" Like, I would feel like that would be normal. Like, if
Yeah.
that was you, your daughters would be like, "Dad, you are
Ah,
embarrassing us." And I'm like, "Well,
absolutely.
maybe I don't know. There's
But
some."
his daughter's dating a linebacker for LSU.
No, they broke up.
Are you sure?
I
Oh, that
thought
was
so.
then that is why she was dating him, just to
Okay.
get back at him.
Yeah. We'll fact check that.
Yeah, fact check that.
Yeah.
Staff, get on. Hey,
Yeah.
you fact check that, please? Thank you. Okay,
But
they're on
he's
it.
only 50 years old, and maybe
Yeah.
he'll start listening to this podcast and he'll understand there's more to sobriety than not drinking.
Yeah. Oh,
That
god, yeah.
you have to address the stuff in the basement. Yoga can only go so far if you're not putting in the work.
That's right. Unfortunately, because I thought once I stopped drinking, I was just gonna be like this perfect Thai house, and, I'm still the same guy, just I don't drink anymore.
The other thing I thought about is when you and I were growing up, like my first memories of football was when the Roger Staubach and the Cowboys were pretty good.
Yep,
And then they kind of went on a bad run during my formative years where the Redskins were winning a ton of Super Bowls. And then the Jimmy Johnson Cowboys were when the Redskins weren't doing well. It was fun to have a villain.
sure.
And now you don't really have a villain in the NFL because the Cowboys have been irrelevant for so long that in college football you have a villain. So like if LSU is playing Ohio State, now I'm like, "Oh, I'm Ohio State's biggest fan.
Right,
I've never
right,
cheered for Ohio State before," you
right.
know? So it'll be fun. It'll be kinda be like, "Oh, you're looking to
Like
see,
the
does your
Yankees.
team win? Did SMU win?" And whoever's playing Ohio State.
Right. Yeah, and it's funny now that your, villain is the coach because these in
Yeah,
college anymore, they bounce around to 5 different colleges, 4 different colleges in their career, so
yeah.
it's like you can't don't tie yourself don't get a jersey of any kid
Yeah.
playing college football.
And I know it's probably all about the money in a way, but I would just think that Alabama's coach and Georgia's coach, when they're talking to the parents in the living room, would kinda be like, "Are you sure you want your kid going to LSU and having that influence?" You know, if it's not like these kids are only choosing between LSU and St. Mary's. They're choosing between LSU and Alabama or Georgia or Oklahoma or Texas. Like, you have choices, and I would just think that parents would want their kids around a true mentor, like somebody
Like
who
us?
who's gonna mentor like us. Yeah.
But so then why didn't you step up when our in-house counsel, who is presently at LSU, when they talked to his parents, why didn't you say anything to his parents?
Well, it's different
Oh, okay.
is that he's there not just for football. He loves football and enjoys football,
Are you
but he's
sure?
not there just for football.
Wow. Did
Yeah.
not know that. I thought he played football, and I already thought he was already a lawyer.
And
I'm learning
he does
everything.
have one. I mean, technically, he has one more semester. I'm sure he's thought about transferring to Notre
Right.
Dame for his final
Yeah.
semester. Any
Eligibility. Yeah.
reasonable person would consider that, but seriously, he'd have to leave all of his friends.
Yeah.
I think he'll stick it out with Lane, and then he'll jump on when Lane will be there for 2 years before he goes to Alabama, and then
Right.
he'll jump
I'll
on
go
to
to
the
L
next
all right.
coach. Yeah.
That's fair. Okay. No, I think that's a good plan for him.
But after all this rambling, now it's time for Tom Ripley.
Let's go. Welcome, everybody, to all new edition of House Calls, the podcast. My friend Dr. Ty House and I are talking to our good friend, Mr. Thomas Ripley. Tom, thanks for joining us. Where
My
are you?
pleasure.
Because your background is a lot warmer than ours.
Yeah, I am in sunny South Florida in Key Largo. So
Good for
and
you.
this is my home and for all of the Maryland Tax Authority members that may be watching the podcast. So I'll be
Damn it.
vacationing in Maryland over the Christmas holiday. So
But less than 6 months.
yes, less than 6 months, correct.
Understood. Ty,
Yeah.
that's a financial thing we'll tell you about later when we sign our deal with Spotify. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Tom, let's get started. Let's get right into it.
Sure.
You've been a big fan of the show. I know you've listened to every episode. So you're in sunny South Florida. What was your day like today?
My day's the same every day.
Okay.
Started out, 5, 5:30-ish, depending, 5:30, coffee, emails for an hour, kind of get my day organized, then work out, and then sit down and get after my day.
So, Tom, what is your day about? Where are you in your career today?
So I have a private equity firm that I started in 2018. I basically have been in private equity since 2001, when I left Wall Street. And I've worked in various roles in private equity firms, funds, and big shops, small shops, and mostly on the operation side. So private equity firms are bifurcated in transaction guys who find companies, structure those companies, and help set up the financing of it, and then guys who actually run the portfolio company. So I'm on the ops side. I've always been on that side of the fence. There's typically a pretty rigid Chinese wall between the two, because guys that run companies have never seen a company they didn't want to buy, and guys who buy companies have never seen a company they didn't think they could fix. They're like, oh, 50 people in finance, just cut it in half, make it 25. And like the ops guys are like, well, wait a second. Like,
I
I'm
need
sure
50.
some of those people are doing something,
Right.
right? So we try to keep those separated. And so I've been on the ops side, and in 2008, in 2004, I left a big firm, thought I could do it on my own, bought a local company, and made literally every mistake I could make, and got wiped out over the course of the next 5 years. Got out with my good name and a lot of debt, and I kept my house. And then kind of went back to another firm, worked for a bunch of years, and then in 2015, I was able to convince Alex, my wife, to let me do it again. And that one worked out a lot better. Had learned a lot of the
Right.
expensive, painful lessons from the previous ones. And I've been on my own really since 2000, since February of 2014 was when I really kind of stepped out on my own. And so I've been doing that since.
My question is, because and we've joked about this, is I kinda understand doctor, lawyer, baker, police chief kinda jobs. How did you know that that business side of
Yeah.
the business world existed? Like, how
Yeah.
young were you when you were like, "Hey, this is something I might do?" Like,
Yeah.
how did that process work?
So I I I started out at Goldman Sachs and Bear Stearns, and those places you sit on the side of the table and advise companies on what you think they should do. Raise debt, sell a non-core asset, raise equity, whatever. And I just kept finding myself, I had to do those jobs because my background was coming from the Marine Corps to business school to Wall Street. So I needed a kind of broad based experience to kind of build that lexicon. And then, but I kept seeing myself every time I meet these companies like, oh, I really want to be on the other side of the table. I really want to be over there. And so I took this interim step and went to a private equity firm and got to buy these companies, take investments in them, and then advise them on what to do and how to do it. And that really kind of scratched that itch of wanting to be involved in the portcos. Today, I'm fully involved in my portfolio companies. I'm doing calls all day long for all the portfolio companies, and I love it. It's where I want to be. I remember the day, I remember where I was standing on the day I came home in my new job in private equity. I was standing in the kitchen with Alex, no kids, and I told her I was born to fucking do this. It was the first time since the Marine Corps I'd been in a job where I was like,
It was
I
you.
like I'm 3 cards ahead of everybody around the table. Like I could just you just have this sense of like just you have this unnatural like edge on everybody else in the room. And I can't say I felt like that every day since, but what I can say is I feel that way about my job. I love what I do. I'm passionate about what I do, and I feel like I've had good success doing it.
Absolutely.
How when you say that you wanna do that and you get your first job, how do you get that first job? Like, is it academic credentials? Was it your Marine background? When did you kinda turn it on? Like, were you turned on academically, or was it more you peaked when you got in business-wise?
Yeah. We've met, right?
Yes,
Right?
that's why I'm
Yeah,
setting you up.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, that's a delicate
That
way
that
of
was that was a
I
that was
got
a
it, I
Christmas
got
that
it.
was your gift.
Yeah,
That was it. That was your Christmas gift right there.
yeah. So look, For me, it was, I've always known how to work really hard. And so I've always been able to just, mm, put in my father used to say there are 3 8-hour workdays in every 24 hours. And so I've always had a mindset of I'm just able to work really hard. Look, I'll be again, joke earlier. I I'm not the brightest person by a stretch. Um, but I can just, surge and just do a lot of hard work. The Marine Corps taught me that. And it also taught me a healthy kind of eye towards you can learn from everybody and you can always improve your game.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but, so when you're talking about your dad was in there, I'm not really sure about I don't know if his career, his background, but what did you wanna do when you were, 10, 12 when, Ty wanted to be a
Yeah.
quarterback and things like that?
My dad was my hero. My dad was a very famous Marine officer. There's a diorama of him at the Naval Academy,
There's books
Distinguished
about
Graduate
him.
Naval
Yeah,
Academy.
absolutely.
Yeah, bunch of books. He's the first Marine in the Ranger Hall of Fame and the first Marine in the U.S. Special Operations Hall of Fame. Um, he was my hero. I wanted to be a Marine from day one. From the
Right.
moment I knew what a being a Marine was, that's what I wanted to be. And now my experience was I grew up around the Marine Corps. I went to Camp Lejeune High School. Grew up. I went to elementary school in Quantico, and so I didn't know anything else but the Marine Corps. And so I was a handful of years into my time in the Marine Corps, loving it, having a great time. Had a couple of really great duty assignments, and basically hit the end of my operational career in the Marine Corps, and the next job for me was recruiting duty, and I was like, I just can't do that. Um, and having spent my entire life in or around the Marine Corps, I decided to apply to business schools, and so I applied to the top 5 business schools, and I figured if I get into one, I'll go, and if I don't, I'll stay in the Marine Corps. I loved what I was doing, and so that was kind of my way to push myself, to challenge myself, and I got turned down by 4 of them and got into one of them. So,
So so Tom, that's kind of my question for people who might be listening who maybe they have it in them, but maybe they didn't apply themselves in high school, maybe they turned it on a little bit in college, but they might not have those grades to get into business school, even though they know once they're there, like, they're ready, they'll succeed. What advice do you have to them? Like, to be like, what sets you
yeah.
apart?
So when I talk to young people, and I'm at this place now where the kids I coach in lacrosse are all kind of graduating, and so that's all circling back. And so when I talk to those people, they ask me, "Should I go to business school? Should I go to law school?" And my answer invariably is the same for all of them, which is it depends on you. Like if business school is something that you need to build that next foundation academically, you didn't pay attention in class, or you feel like you need that edge. Great, then go to business school. But let's not lose sight of the fact that business schools $80 to $100,000 a year, and nobody's giving you any money for that because you probably already received some money for college, and it's 2 years of your life, right? So I'm talking to guys who are 30, 33 years old coming out of the Marine Corps, and like, "Okay, I want to go to business school." Okay, let's just recognize you're gonna be 35 and $200,000 in debt when you graduate. So is that investment, what's the return on that investment, both time and money? And so I think the real breakthrough for young people is we grew up in a world where you're like, hey, you should have this job and you should have it for 10 years and don't move around because if you move around, it shows you can't hold a job. I think that's a bunch of baloney. My advice to young people is do a lot of everything. Because if you can figure out when you're young, 5 years in, 8 years into your career, if you can figure out what you're uniquely gifted at, if you're what your superpower is, what you're really great at, man, that there is no amount of money you can put. There is no price you can put on that knowledge. When you figure out the thing that you're uniquely gifted at, it's the rest of your life is just doing something you're having fun at. And I'm not saying follow your passion. I think that's a bunch of baloney. I'm saying there are certain things, everybody has a superpower. And if you can figure it out early in your career, which I was fortunate enough to figure out by being, I'll talk about that in a moment, but if you can figure that out, man, that is the gift. That is an incredible gift to yourself. Now, The way I think you figure that out is you be brutally honest with yourself about stuff that you can do and you can't do. Right. And that just takes a real athletes are particularly good at this because they've been coached over and over and over again by people that are just focused on winning. And those coaches are really honest with you. The people who are the worst at it are your parents. Your parents lie to you from day one. Oh, you're wonderful, honey. Oh, you're special, honey. Oh, you're great, honey. Baloney. You're none of those things, right? But you never are honest with yourself. And so you can't listen to your parents, but you have to have some hard conversations with yourself in your bathroom alone about, like, hey, like, I'm really crappy at this and I need to be really honest about it. And I can just stop doing it or find someone who's really good at it and do it for me so I can do this other stuff.
I would also add to that, is that when you don't know what you're good at and you don't know what you're gonna be, do some hard things because I'm sure there were times where in business school or wherever you were like, "This
Absolutely.
isn't as hard as the Marines." "This isn't as hard as running suicides,"
Absolutely.
"Yes, it's 6 in the morning, but I'm looking at a spreadsheet. I'm not running, 5 miles in the mud."
So Ty, you and I talk about this a lot. Matt, you can take notes and listen in.
Yes,
The
thanks. That's all I
the
do.
the this is the why I work out.
Mhm.
Like this is like I of course like to be in shape and I like to be fed and all those sort of things. But you did the physical challenges, the sprints, and all those different things you were doing on your Insta. To me, working out is really it's a means to three things. One is it's uncomfortable. And so it takes discipline. I don't want to wake up and go work out every day. I can tell you that. I'm 55 and my body often does not want to work out. Um, but it's hard. And I don't have a lot of hard on Bayhead Road. Like I need to find and engineer hard in my life. And we aren't born tough. We're born soft. We cry, mom brings us a bottle, right? We're cold, mommy puts a blanket on us. We're born soft. Being tough and being disciplined is a learned behavior. And if you can learn it, you can unlearn it. And so we have to practice it every day. And so I wake up and I work out every day, mostly because it's a rekindling of the discipline fire in my life. There are two other reasons why I work out. One is, you guys know, you'll get a laugh out of this. I run a little hot, and
What?
so
What?
it's yeah, and
Whoa,
so
whoa.
so
Hot take.
working out daily helps me manage my aggression and keeps a cap on it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
All right.
and and look, the other one is I have a fair bit of stress in my job, and so part of that self-induced stress. I'm not ashamed to admit that I don't manage those things terribly well, and working out helps me manage that stress. No matter how crappy today is, wake up tomorrow morning, I have a coffee, I do my emails, I go to the gym, I work out, boom, reset, start my day again. You have the worst day in the world today. Tomorrow is a fresh day. I got a fresh workout and I got a sauna, ice bath, and boom, I'm right back at my day again. And so to me, to your point, Ty, I think that's a lost, I think it's just lost on young people like, well, I'm in shape, like being in shape's only like that much of the reason why we should go work out.
Oh,
It's all those other mental things. Like it's all of those other little mental edges you get out of it.
so as we talked about, your was a Marine. You were a Marine. I feel like there are different situations in your life growing up that probably helped you really embrace that discipline or that hard things. You want to touch on that? Like some of the things that, that helped you get there? I mean, was there specific moments dad said or your mentor, your mom,
Well,
something that really helped you?
I think I'll go back to, there's two things that jump out of my head. One is for those in the Annapolis who knew me when I was a teenager, I was not a good kid. I ran it fast and loose and was always constantly in some phase of trouble. And invariably those days catch up with you, right, Matt?
Yeah, totally.
And when they catch up with you, you have those hard moments where you're sitting in your car and you've been kicked out of the house, you got $280 in your pocket, and you're like, man, I have really done it. And
Yeah,
you just have to take stock of the moment and be like, okay, there's a fork in the road. Where am I going to go? And,
absolutely.
happened to me my sophomore year in college. I got kicked out of college, and my dad happened to be my commanding officer, my actual commanding officer. I was in the Marines and he was a senior Marine. And so,
Oh,
yeah, not a good day.
not a good day.
My parents did not pick me up. I had to walk from VMI down Main Street with all my worldly possessions in my laundry bag, walk in my kitchen counter, my dad sitting at the kitchen counter. And he just said very flatly and simply, you got 15 minutes to get whatever you need. And I don't want to see you until you're back at VMI. And so, you know, I'm sitting at White's truck stop on I-81 with literally back then your mother would write a check for cash at the grocery store. That's how you got cash.
Right.
She gave me all her cash. My mother was a saint. God bless that woman. She gave me all the cash in her wallet, crying at my car door as I flew my stuff in my truck and was like, call me. And, I'm sitting at White's truck stop and I'm like, man, that was October 15th, 1991. That like rock bottom.
There
And
you
those
go.
are the moments where you learn to be really, really honest with yourself. And you just okay, what am I? I'm not like, that's not a proud moment for me, but it's an inflection point for me. Yeah.
And knowing that story already, and that's the reason I teed it up because I think people hear about you, see you now, like, oh, he's got all this stuff. You didn't wake up on third base,
No.
all right?
Yeah. No,
You know,
my mom was a housewife. My dad was a Marine. So
yeah,
that's what my trust fund was, a high five.
yeah, or yeah,
Good luck.
a firm handshake,
Yeah, exactly.
but and I think people need to understand that, right? Because I just be quiet. We're letting real guys talk. They've had real life experiences, okay? Not the Colts moving is your inflection point, okay? That doesn't count. Um, but and I think it's just, and you might not be proud of it, but it shaped everything. That October 15th, I've got my day, you've got your day. Ty's got everyone's got the day, and to be open and honest with yourself,
Yeah.
that's everything, and
Yeah.
to embrace it. So
And I look for that kind of stuff when I'm recruiting people. I absolutely look for those inflection points.
absolutely,
That's a person who's learned how to, like,
had life. He's had
your
life.
your brother is a freaking awesome. That guy, like the stories of him working at a mattress company are just they're for the ones for the ages.
Yeah,
And like the stuff
absolutely.
he learned in those experiences they're invaluable. They're
Right,
invaluable.
right.
So there's a quote, "Know thyself," and as I'm listening here, one of your superpowers is that you know yourself. You've already mentioned that you know that you get stressed, so you know how to handle your stress. You know that you run hot. Did this slowly happen, or when you left VMI that fall, was it immediate where you're like, "I'm gonna be something in this life," or was it a gradual over the last 25 years that you have been like, "This is how I'm gonna do it"? When did you realize that these things about yourself? How self-aware
I
were
would
you?
I think that so my last job in the Marines, it was a series of, there were like 5 or 6 like really clear salient moments. And then it's interesting, I continue to relearn those lessons over and over in my life, or see reminders of those lessons over and over. So I'll give you one. I was in the special operations in the Marine Corps, an organization called Force Recon. It's now called MARSOC. And I had this incredible platoon sergeant. He's just incredible. He was, next to my father, one of the greatest leaders of men I've ever been around. Um, and Staff Sergeant Nyman said to me, "Sir, to get to this unit, you have to like compete and screen and go through all these different tests. And, I'm, you know, it's not a stretch to say I'm the best Marine officer, second, rising first lieutenant in the second Marine Division. There are 3 divisions in the Marine Corps. I get over to this unit. They take basically one every 6 months. And I show up in my platoon and I'm proud as a peacock. I'm fit. I'm ready. I'm in shape. I'm like right on the edge. And he says to me, as deadpan as he can be, and this is like 10 minutes into meeting the guy. He's like, "Sir, as long as you understand that you're in command and I'm in charge, we're going to have a great relationship." And I was like, oh, I'm like, wait a second. I thought we were going to be kicking indoors. And I was going to be, on a white horse with a flag. It was just such a notch down. And then later, he told me, as we got to know each other, he told me, "Sir, you got to watch out for experts, because experts have stopped learning. They think they have all the answers, and those are the people that get people killed." And it's just this kind of rebasing of your humility. That's when you listen to your ego, you stop taking measure of yourself.
Right.
You stop, challenging yourself and stressing yourself, and you start, reading your news clippings or whatever the analogy is, and it is an insidious slope of just badness across, and so the I'll give you the reminder now. The reminder is coached a club lacrosse team for a long time, 10 years, and the team was quite good. Um, I was blessed to have Brian Wood with me for that entire experience. Brian Wood, to say that he was a great lacrosse player is is understating it by a factor of 10. He was the greatest lacrosse player I've ever seen play. That's one. He's also the most accomplished lacrosse player I've ever seen, heard of, know about. I don't know of someone that has the accolades that he has. I'll save him the embarrassment of repeating them here. But just to in his basement on some nondescript wall, like where nobody like ever would see, are these three world team rings that just sit on a plaque down in his basement. Like the guy, and when you add all that in, he is the most freaking humble, understated human on the lacrosse field you have ever seen. Now, the number of times I've had coaches from other teams come over after we trounced their team and ask Brian to come and talk to their team, uh, it's happened a dozen times. I mean, that guy is the epitome of just no ego, total pro, all about the kids, all about the experience, humble, understated. And when I'm around people like that, I'm reminded, hey, man, like, be more like that guy. Pros don't say much. That's Brian Wood. That's a great reminder for me being a really self-aware person.
That's
Spot
great.
on. No, that is so good, and that's so well said about Brian, and understanding the difference between listening to your own ego and opening yourself up to what's going on around you. We just be able to take more in. Uh, Speaking of being humble and facing hard things, you coach your son in lacrosse, but you also have two other kids, two of my favorite kids. Uh, Star in America. I'm not going to tell you what I used to call Star because I promised her I wouldn't do that anymore, but it's her name backwards. And America, who are just sweet, sweet, nice girls. They have special needs. They are 20 years old now.
Yes, they're
Yeah,
20.
they're 20. Oh my God, 20
Yeah.
years old. And so, I mean, that's another, you know, I'm speaking for you, but a hard thing, but turned out to be a blessing.
Yeah. So they're both on the autism spectrum. They're both very high functioning young ladies. They, they had a really incredible, Race wrote his application to the Naval Academy about his sisters. And I, when I like,
Yeah.
just incredible moment reading that essay because the perspective on it was everything that they have had to work for. And when I say everything, I mean tie your shoes.
Yeah.
It took my girls 8 years to learn to ride a two-wheel bike. 8 years. And it, think about the tenacity you have
Yeah.
to just, how many times they fell and skinned their hands and their knees, over the course of 8 years to learn to ride a bicycle. It's just, and then to watch my wife, who just the Herculean amount of effort it takes to raise not one special needs kid, but two, and to do it. But she like there's no cheering section for Alex. She doesn't get to have company wide meetings where people applaud you for the next last quarter's earnings. She's just there alone, just grinding it out every day. And um, today, interestingly enough, about an hour ago, America had her first day at her first job.
Oh, wow.
So, yes.
Oh,
So
wow. That's very cool.
if anyone needs donuts, Sandy Pony at on
All right. Yep.
on Route 2 South
All right.
as a new employee on Thursday afternoons.
Oh my goodness.
So she look, when I think about those girls, the thing that comes to mind for me is what do you I don't people are like, well, what do you want to be? I don't want my kids to be happy. I think happy is a silly pursuit. It's like if you want happy, eat ice cream. Like I mean, it's happy's is a immaterial thing. I want my kids to have purpose, a life of meaning, and for my girls, purpose is a job.
Yeah.
Like you should see the amount of excitement and just zeal they have for like America folded box. So
Everything.
she folded donut boxes today, and she was. I mean, cannot stop talking about it. Was just like to the moon. Has a shirt and like lays it out on the day of work, and it's like it's a t-shirt that says Sandy Pony on it. But like the whole idea of like this is my thing. This is who I am. It's like
And without
that's
her sister. And without her
that's
sister
right.
there. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's right,
so
man.
huge
That's
on
a big deal, man.
so many different wins on that, and
So
I mean,
true.
it puts it in perspective,
And
right?
Yeah.
I think that's something that sometimes people don't understand is they're probably saying, Tom, when you're in the thick of it, you're doing all this work stuff, you're taking care of your daughters, plus you're coaching lacrosse, plus you have these hobbies. And there's a little bit of, wow, maybe this guy needs to rest so he finds peace. And what they don't understand is that's where the peace is. Like the peace is
Amen.
when you're in your purpose. And like people talk about flow or being in the zone when all you're thinking about is that business thing, or all you're thinking about is helping your daughters learn to ride a bike, or all you're thinking about is that moment of trying to coach a lacrosse team, that's where you find peace. And
Amen. It's perfectly
maybe,
said.
maybe as you get older, you need to have some things where you can actually rest. Like you said, you're 55 and your body might not be able to do some of the stuff, but you can still have purpose at all times and
Well,
still
if I
be
could get a
active.
good if I could get a good orthopedist that could help me with my knees, I'd be perfectly
Amen,
set. I mean,
brother.
I would have a problem.
Amen.
Wait,
So
But
we
I
need
got
a
this I
Matt.
got
We
this
need a little
quack of a
sidebar
doc who's
here. Is
yeah.
that
It's like
Tom loves sending me? Tom got his ACL done before the profession had
And there
really
goes HIPAA.
perfected it,
Okay, the
and we're
HIPAA's
about to
calling.
do our HIPAA violation. So Tom's got a little gravel in his knee, and he is constantly sending me things from his favorite medical journals about things in the future. So it might be Ski Magazine, it might be Men's Health. The latest one was some from Instagram, and it totally makes sense to me. He's not the only person, but he's kind of like, why can't you guys figure this out? Why can't we just inject some kind of sterile marshmallow in there and fix it? And I'm just saying, this is Tom's chance to talk to the whole orthopedic community. Somebody better be in their garage figuring out how to do a fix a flat so Tom can run Ironman again.
College.
exactly. We would to me this is just a no-brainer. It's like the easiest thing to figure out. Like can not somebody not
Well, why
get to
can't you
work
and
on
Maya?
this?
I mean, nothing. Ty, turn your earphones off. You and Maya are much better with your hands, and you get Kevin in there. You guys could probably figure this out. Kevin rebuilt a car. Maya's, he's sailed across the country. You chase elk. I mean, you guys could actually. I'm
Yeah.
gonna put this at Tom. You should figure this out yourself.
All right, but
Yeah.
let's get into a little bit of Tom's hobbies because you are not only have very active hobbies, you're not knitting, but also I think you're a leader in getting groups of people together who need to get out and have fun. And so how did that start? Like when did you start being
So
like, all right, I work hard, I need good hobbies, and I'm bringing other people with me?
to me, I've just always loved being on teams. I think it's something that is nothing great is ever accomplished by the individual. All of my success is because of my wife and I. It's never ever because of the individual. And there's something special about being a part of just a group of it comes from my special operations experience where I had a group of like 26 pipe hitters that just we could go anywhere on the planet and did some just incredible stuff. And I've just always yearned for that experience. I don't need to be the leader of the team. I'm happy to be the worst player on the team. I mean, look at our lacrosse experiences. Ty. I was easily one of the worst players on the team, but just the ability to be on a team and be around people with a common mission, it's I love it. I love it. And so my hobbies all have like this grab a few guys, come up with some harebrained, half baked idea that's probably going to be really physically challenging, some risk involved, right? And go do it, you know. And so last year, I crushed 4 of my ribs on a motorcycle event. So a buddy of mine, Coleman Ruiz, and I went, um, did a for his 50th birthday, did 100 miles a day on motocross bikes across the Grand Canyon. And on day 3, I'm going 45 miles an hour on a Husqvarna 350 motocross bike, and I'm kind of come over this hill, and I'm like on the backside of it. I'm in the air, and I'm looking down. There's like milk jug side rocks, and I, land, crush 4 of my ribs, get a helicopter flown out, get a pneumothorax, puncture my lung, deflate my lung. Bad decisions.
Serious. Yeah.
Yeah, bad decisions. High fives from the wife. I got home. Everybody was thrilled.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Super, super
yeah,
proud of
yep,
me. Yeah,
yep.
not inconveniencing anyone, by
No,
the
no,
way.
no, no,
Nobody
that's you.
inconvenienced me.
That's you. Just
And so,
easy.
but the idea of like doing something where there is no checking your emails, there's no looking at your phone, there's no taking when you're going 40 miles an hour on a motocross bike across the Grand Canyon, you are singularly focused on one thing, nothing else. Like what is right in front of you. Now, clearly, I was not as focused as my compadres, but it's those kinds of things where you're totally immersed in the moment. You said it earlier, Tyus. Exactly right. It's just I have complete detachment from everything else, and I'm blessed to have a wife that allows me to do that kind of stuff. But it's the same thing with elk hunting. If you check out of the moment for one split second elk hunting, you're not going to be successful that day. You may get a shot the next day, but that day is gone. Like, and I had that mistake happen to me this past fall where first of all, you're starting at 10,000 feet. You're walking roughly 10 miles a day with everything you need.
Tom, I'm sorry to cut you off. Back up. This is the hunt. Talk about the prep to get you to the start.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. So,
No, no, I think it's
yeah,
fascinating.
elk hunting is something that I've just gotten crazy about because they're an apex animal. They are, um, I mean, it's hard to describe how big they are. I mean, it's like a Suburban with antlers. Um, so when I start typically in June with a weighted vest. My workout 4 days a week, 3 days a week is kettlebells, 4 days a week is walking with a weighted vest, usually 30 to 40 pounds. Boots, break my boots in. And for the month of June and half the month of July, I am walking 4 days a week. Um, you know, 5, 10 miles, just kind of zoned out, just doing my own mental stuff. Again, early in the morning. And then starting in July, I'll add in about it's all total in the course of the day, probably 2 hours of range time with my bow. I'll shoot around 100 arrows a day. I shoot an 80-pound draw bow, and I need to be able to hit a paper plate at 70 yards. Um, with 5 arrows and a paper plate at 70 yards. So most bow hunters are accurate to like 40 yards. I'm hitting a paper plate by August. I'm hitting a paper plate at 100 yards, 8 out of 10 arrows, um, which is that's a good range. That's pretty. That's stout. And then I'm also like at that point I'm in really tight shape. Then you go out and you hunt. Your hunt is 5 days. You wake up at 4, you got everything you need for the day on, you're out, you're moving at 5, and you are tracking down and chasing these animals. And then you've got to get with
Is this at Sandy State Park? Where are you doing this?
no, yeah, so we're doing it in New Mexico,
Okay.
your unit in one of the game units. Elevation is anywhere between like 7 and 10,000 feet at elevation. And so it's full go. An elk like walks. I shot at an elk 3 years ago at 119 yards, missed him. My arrow clipped the underside of my sight. I hadn't calculated it out to that far. I shot again at 127 yards. He turned and walked away. He walked another 100 yards over a ridge. I ran from my position to that ridge line, call it 230 yards. I get to the top, I can see in every direction a mile and a half. I'm not talking about 8 elk. I'm talking about 30 elk gone, totally gone, like gone. Don't know where they went. Can't see them. Got binoculars. They're not. There's no trees. They're just gone. And so it is like a razor edge
Wow.
experience. And like, the success rate for hunting elk is like 20% with a bow. And a Barbary sheep, which I did last year, is like 2% with a bow. But it's not, I'm not, it's
Right.
killing a Barbary sheep is not that's not the reason. It's the challenge. It's the
Right.
discipline of like, getting your stuff ready and being on point and being focused and all the little senses are on edge. That's, that's why I do it.
That's the sweet spot, that on edge focus. That's what it's
So
all
I'm going to
about.
take a second here, Matt, and get back up on my soapbox.
Oh,
But something
Jesus.
that we preach, and Tom,
Great,
I'm just going to
PETA.
point out is the perfect example of this: is you can have goals or you can build habits, and your goal is your elk hunt, but it's the habit is doing all the working out to get to that elk hunt. So you don't want to be the person who does the marathon and then never runs again for 5 years. You want to be the person who does it and then starts again the next day, starts walking, starts jogging, and it's the same thing. As long as you have a something that gets you up, keeps you disciplined to stay on top, you're going to be happy because you're going to be able to be active. You do not want to turn your body into a cage in middle age, haven't done anything for 5 years, and then you get invited on the elk hunt and you're like, oh, guys, I don't think I can go.
Yeah. I just read Steve Jobs' book this summer. I read his Walter Isaac's book on Steve
Right.
Jobs and Elon Musk. And in Jobs' book, I'm going to screw the quote up, but it's something to the effect of your first 40 years of your life, you make your habits, and the next 40 years of your life, your habits make you.
Yeah.
Oh,
I just,
nailed it.
it, it's just like, to me, by the way, like when I'm pushing, Ty, you and I have had this conversation. When I'm pushing this edge of either working out or training for something, or I'm a better dad, I'm a better work professional, right? I'm a better friend. I'm just more engaged on all I'm engaged on all facets of my life in just a much, much more meaningful way because I'm just present. I'm singularly focused on, okay, when I get home, my girls get home at 5 o'clock, it's phone down, laptop closed. I'm engaged on them, right? And you just become, because you have a tight timeline of like, I need to do this and then this and then this, and so you schedule stuff out and you learn with this, you live with this regimentation in your life. For me, like if look, it's not for everybody. It drives me like crazy, but for me, it's structure, and I just love that, like that structure in my life.
Yeah, and with you, Tom, you don't do anything half-assed, right? And I say that as a compliment because that's what makes you tick, right? And so it works.
Now, what age were you when you started to realize that you couldn't do all these things and eat McDonald's every day? Like,
Yeah.
was that a gradual
So,
process or?
yeah. I ran a bunch of Ironmans up until I was 45. My freaking orthopedist couldn't keep that hobby going for me. The the I, when I stopped doing those things, when you're doing Ironman, your body's a blast furnace. You can put literally anything into your body, and it does not matter. It will burn it come to completion. Like I'm doing 100 miles on a bike today. I'm burning 10,000 calories. It doesn't matter what I eat. I could eat 6 of them. It doesn't matter. I'm going to burn it. But as you get older and your body slows down, for me, like I started fasting in 2014, and I've done all kinds of fasting, but I really don't tell people I don't really fast anymore. It's just my body's my. Since then, I basically fast every day, except for I go out if I have fun. I will split I'll break my fast earlier and have like eggs and stuff like that in the morning, and then not eat until dinner. But my fast is 12 o'clock till 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock at night's my last meal. 12 o'clock and the next day is my next meal. And it's because I just don't burn the calories like I used to. And I work out hard. I mean, my workouts today, I probably burned 600 calories today, but I'm just not. I just don't burn the calories like I used to, and it really fell off at like 50. I noticed I'm like, God, I'm like, just get lethargic and stuff. And so I've religiously since like 2014. I bought my first sauna in 2014 because a buddy of mine turned me on to it, and I started fasting, and I've been doing it. I do it. I'm in the sauna 5 days a week. I'm working out 6 to 7 days a week, and I fast 7 days a week.
So fasting's
And
big in the
I don't think really differently about it.
yeah.
It's a little annoying for my wife because she likes to wake up and, in the summer and walk to a coffee shop and, yeah, okay, I'll go get a coffee with you.
It's funny because fasting got in the pop culture, but some people fell into it because they were busy and it was easy to skip breakfast. Like, I had more time to enjoy my coffee if I wasn't eating breakfast, and if I was drinking black coffee anyway, then they start talking about it, you're like, "Oh, I've been fasting for a couple of years."
Right. I didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
To
do have
me,
a big question, switching from nutrition is to leadership. So, you are in charge of a ton of employees, you've coached a lot of people, and your style is more of a go, go, go. Like I can imagine the person who has the military background, who's disciplined, who's focused, who maybe like the kick in the butt and that gets them to the next level. How do you manage the person who maybe is valuable to you, but doesn't need the kick in the butt, needs the arm around their shoulder and needs the encouragement? Like how do you work that out?
yeah. So I had, I had a really bad CO in the Marine Corps that micromanaged me and in some ways drove me out of the Marine Corps. Um, and that, if you've ever been micromanaged in your life, it's one of the most soul sucking, demoralizing experiences you could ever have because it, especially for people who like to push and go and drive, it just really is miserable. And so I use a couple of things when I try to lead. One is um, I tell people I love them a lot. I know that sounds weird, especially for people who don't know me well, but but the easy path for me, if I don't care about you, is to just not engage you and just move on, right? The hard path for me, if I truly am invested in the relationship and I care about the relationship, is to take the tough path and tell you the hard truth that you don't want to hear. And quite frankly, I know when I'm there when I'm uncomfortable. When I get to a point where I'm being so honest with you that I'm uncomfortable with me, that's where that's me investing myself and getting myself to a place where I can help you get to the next level. That that is me showing love to someone. And so it's that's being a great teammate. And look, we I think on my teams, especially my upper team at the private equity firm, that team, I throw them in the deep end. I let them run. Sometimes that's to a fault. Like people get a little, they want structure, they want direction, and I'm not great at giving it because I don't like to micromanage people. And I'm not that patient either. And being a great teacher means you have to be very patient, and I'm just not. Um, and that's a flaw. And but what I also try to do at that level is I try to really invest in coaching them and encouraging them to push themselves, challenge themselves, but also be really honest with themselves. And I, in turn, am really honest with them. I had a young man on our team this morning. I had a call with him, and this guy Coleman, who I work with very closely, we told this guy, like, hey man, like, here are the 5 things I need you to do more of. Like, I know you think you're doing a great job, and you are doing a great job being like a functional expert, but I need you to push these areas. And what I told him at the end was, let's just dispel for a moment that you're going to make a ton of mistakes. I know you're going to make mistakes. Coleman knows you're going to make mistakes. And you probably, if you're honest with yourself, know you're going to make mistakes. And all of a sudden, you can just see him just like, just take this deep, relaxed breath. Like, hey, man, you're in the perfect spot as a young professional. I'm going to let you run hard at stuff. I'm going to give you all the capital you need and make as many goddamn mistakes as you want because I'm putting you in a place where you're not equipped to do this. Go run out and make the mistakes. And that was like, that gives people the construct
Yeah.
they need.
Liberating. Yep. Totally.
What what catches your eyes on resumes? Like, beyond like, I would imagine your background, you're not quite as concerned about what school it was or what the GPA was.
Yeah.
what are the other things that you notice
I
beyond maybe
love
college athlete?
go back to what we said earlier. I love college athletes, absolutely. I love special operations people because they can make decisions in chaotic environments with incomplete information, lack of resources. They're okay with risk and stress and all of those kinds of things. I love people that have made big mistakes in their careers. Like you look in the resume, you see a gap or, a short job and you ask them about it and they go whole hog into, I did this, I screwed it up, I made a really bad mistake, I had to, liquidate the business, whatever. I love that stuff because man, in there are lessons you'll never read in a book. I mean, they are just incredible, incredible lessons. And so anytime I can find those kinds of things. And then look, I love people that have lots of hobbies. I I have many people on my team that coach. I think that is a just a gateway. If you can coach, you can do you have a lot of patience. You can break stuff down into its processes. You have a long view on development and on being honest with people. We talked about parents not being honest. Coaches know how to be honest and then, in turn know how to, own stuff when there's things go sideways. And so I look for all those kinds of traits. And invariably those aren't on resumes.
Right.
You have to do face-to-face interviews.
Do I want to know about, I wanna know about mentors that even you have now, like, do you have any, like, older retired people that you look up to, and maybe even people that you don't know, but you've read their books or seen their speeches?
Um, okay, so mentors, I have lots of people that are mentors. I'm not sure that I'd use the term mentor. I would use the term great teammates,
Mhm.
people that make me a better version of me, right? They push me, they're honest with me, they challenge me. My wife and my partner, Lawrence Berger, those two constantly challenge me, question why are we doing this? Was talking to Lawrence the other day, and he's like, "Hey, I think we need to build this next. We just bought Claire's, a business in Chicago." He's like, "Hey, I think we need to build this org to be able to like not have you be involved on a day to day basis." And it was a comment in passing, but it really made me like step back and like put pen to paper and think, God, he's right. Like we are being penny wise and pound foolish here on this business. We really need to level this whole org up. And it's people like that, when I surround myself with people that question me and push me and challenge me physically, mentally, emotionally, professionally, those are elite humans. And then I look for people that um that remind me of the most important traits of my life. I talked about Brian being egoless. I'll give you two other hometown favorites. Um Franco Frassione is unapologetically his son's biggest fan. I mean, to a point where it's hard to not be a fan. I am a fan of Jack. I love the kid. He's fantastic. But it's hard to not be a fan of Jack Frassione if you know Franco.
Yeah.
And there's just something so freaking pure about that just puts a smile on your face. Like you just like Wh why is every parent not like that, like, with their kid? It's just such a cool thing, and, like, it's not just the Penn State days, and you guys have known Franco forever, as have I. That guy was like that when Jack was a baby. When Jack was 8
Yep.
years old, he was like that. He's been like that from day one, and it's just really refreshing to be around a person like that, and so, I used to tiptoe around, how I was around my son and my daughter's accomplishments, and now I'm like, why not? Like, what the hell else what are you doing this for?
That's
Like,
right.
it's
And
I'll give
also
you
with
the other one.
Franco is he's every young kid's biggest fan.
He
Like,
is.
you just see
Yeah.
him,
He
like,
is. That guy that
around
guy
the cross field, around neighborhoods, like,
I
the
get
alumni are coming up to him. He's everybody's biggest
you
fan.
well said
Yeah.
and totally true. I get a text from that guy 4 times a year. Hey, I saw a race in the, in the stat line, he's just, the guy's just like
Pure. He's just pure.
he's just right from the heart, like
Yep.
Yeah,
straight from the heart. The guy is who that guy is. And it's as genuine and pure. And like, I just need more of that in my life. Like that is,
yeah,
it lets you be like, you know what? I'm gonna brag about my son today. Like
yeah,
it liberates you to be like that because that's the way he is. And I love that. I'll give you one more. One of the most selfless guys. I mean, this guy does it and it just shows up. You don't even know where it came from. Is Frank Oliver is one of the I'm traveling. This is 8 years ago. I'm traveling. My girls, when they were young and they would get frustrated, they would want to go on a burn. They would get on a golf cart and do a little loop and just, it takes the temperature down, helps Alex manage the day and that sort of thing. Of course, I'm traveling, flat tires on my golf carts, right? Because I got a 17-year-old son who's probably doing stuff he shouldn't be doing on his golf carts. I got flat tires. Next day, tires are fixed on two different golf carts. Like it took me a week to figure it out that it was Frank Oliver. Like the guy that's just like, and if you know the guy, there's just something incredibly selfless about a person to just do that and not tell you, not put a card, not say anything. He just does it and it just happens. And you got to go hunt and figure it out. And like the list is long. You guys, there are dozens and dozens of people like that in Sherwood and other places in my life that are that are North stars on character traits that I need more of in my life, or I need to remind myself in my life. Like, you know, we had a pretty successful lacrosse team, and it was fun, really fun to be a part of. But spend 1 minute about Brian Wood, and all of a sudden your ego's like, "Boop, put that in your pocket. Like you don't need to just like
Right.
the guy. Just those are healthy reminders.
And Ty, this would be a good time. I think we'll just cut out where you said you and I were two of those people, but we'll cut that out also.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just
No, but
we
that's
don't
that's
need that
true.
kind of
It's
stuff.
one of the great things about this podcast is we get to hear people who
Yep.
love what they're doing and who are inspired. And for me, I get relaxed being around people who are pushing it, who are
Yeah.
taking things to the limit, who are applying themselves to life. What makes me uncomfortable is when people aren't focused and aren't applying themselves. I'm the massive cheerleader of I don't want people getting in the doldrums in middle age. I don't want people in their 20s thinking there's no
And
opportunities out there. And I don't want people thinking retirement's going to be fun if you just sit around doing nothing. It's not. Don't You can stop your job, but you got to keep going. You got to
And
do
Ty,
stuff.
look, and Ty, you've been a ringleader, in the community about like, hey man, like we need to be more active. Like, let's go. Like, and calling people out. Like, come on, let's go off the couch.
Yeah.
Let's get out there and start moving. I'll create some some construct that'll be, we're gonna run for 15 minutes, or we're gonna sprint, do wind sprints, or we're gonna do just like that's why you're a leader in your community. That's why people gravitate towards you because you're doing those kinds of things. You're creating this structure where people are you're compelling them to go make themselves better.
Tom, you're talking about, your elk hunting and preparing and focused. I did a hot yoga class this morning that it was 90 minutes and it was the exact, we'll talk offline about it.
You got like an inappropriate screenshot of you and the yoga instructor with no shirt on.
Like,
I want to close out with a book. So Bill McRaven, everybody knows Bill McRaven today as the guy who designed the Osama bin Laden raid. Um, and uh, he's he's written a bunch of books. He's quite a gifted writer. But his most recent one of his most recent ones, is called Wisdom of the Bullfrog, and it is an awesome business book. It's an awesome personal disciplines book. Uh, Quick read, page turner, real short chapters. The military style of teaching is this thing's called enabled learning objectives, which is, here are the three things I'm going to tell you. They tell them to you, and then they're like, here are the three things I told you. And it's kind of built on that structure, so it's very easy to digest. It is a great book for anybody, and a fun one to read, and you can read it in a couple of days, probably.
Awesome.
All right. We'll
So
put that on
with
the
the end
list.
of the year, Tom, did you get your Spotify recap? Have you seen your?
No,
You have not. Okay. Did
no,
you get your YouTube recap?
no, I did
Okay.
not.
Then we're gonna cut this part out because it won't be funny.
I mean, what was yours like the Speed Racer theme song
No,
guy?
my Spotify recap said my listening age was 70 years old. And my YouTube recap
Is
said
this like
that
an email? Is this like an email
Yeah.
you get, or
Yeah.
when you
oh,
go to Spotify, it'll come up as your recap and tell you like what your top
here we
songs
go.
were, what your top genres were.
Okay,
Uh,
well, hold on a second. Here we go. Here's my top. Well, the problem is mine is linked to my family,
okay.
so we're
Uh-huh.
cheap.
Uh-huh.
Um, let's see here, but
Come on,
we're gonna
Taylor.
find
Come
out.
on, Swifty.
Top genres: acoustic country, southern rock, college rock, beach music.
Dude,
That's
Um,
good.
I
Okay.
see that
Does it say your
100%.
listening age?
69 years old.
Okay. I
Young.
was 70 years old. I think it was outlaw country, classic country, and then like show tunes or something. But my
My number one song. God, this is embarrassing. I'm not saying it.
Come on, Taylor.
No, no, no.
so
Shabuzi.
Clearly, my children have influenced
Uh-huh.
my. It didn't blow my average age down, unfortunately. But
Maybe they did.
so
Maybe
my
they did.
my YouTube award was most likely to find the meaning of life while watching football highlights.
That
All right.
might be the new name of the podcast in the new year.
And then the final question, and then Matt's going to edit this out. I'm not sure how to ask this, but I've recently been made aware of something where you are a guy's guy, right? And I came up with, I did not know that it was feminine to drink out of a Stanley cup. So that was
Dude,
my
yes,
first thing
yes.
that I got mocked for.
yes.
And my second
First,
thing was on my Spotify tunes was show tunes and musicals did not seem very manly. What is your one thing that is not
I'm
manly?
gonna I'm gonna give you three.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you three.
Wow.
Men wear trousers, not pants.
Okay.
Two, men do not use straws.
Yes.
And three, we unpeel our banana, break it, and then eat it. We do not eat a banana out of the peel,
Tom, you're
Really?
preaching to the choir.
as in
Yeah,
peel
yeah,
it and
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my
we got it.
gosh. Who taught you that?
yeah. Nobody taught me that. I'm just a man.
Okay.
It's just
Okay.
it's organic and it's in my DNA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is,
It's like
Uncle,
walking
Uncle, Tom,
upright.
Uncle Tommy.
Opposable thumbs. I cook my
Yeah.
food, like all that. Yeah.
is there
You know-
anything that you've noticed that Matt
Wait.
does besides hot yoga that he's not aware of that he needs to
He
man up on?
crosses his legs a lot.
I do.
Crosses his legs.
Do
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
I've never
Crosses
noticed
his legs
that.
a
Yeah,
lot. Yeah.
they're
Okay.
there now. Yeah, I do.
He's quite flexible. Crosses
Thank
his legs a lot.
I am.
Yes.
I'm not afraid of that. I'll own that because I'm getting ready for the later years. But yeah. Oh my God.
This was
But
great.
then Tom, is it better to cut your own firewood or have it delivered and stacked?
As Dan Baird will tell you, like I was over at Dan's for Halloween. This is 10 years ago. He's like, yeah, the firewood's right over there. Just grab it, it's right over there. And I go over and it's shrink wrapped with a handle on it. I was like, Dan, like what in God's green earth is going on here? First of all, you live in the forest. Okay, let's start with that. You live in the forest. B, your good friend Kevin Colton has every wood cutting implement on the planet down at his house in the garage. Now he's your next door neighbor. Like this guy is going to 7-Eleven and buying his firewood. I was like, I said something inappropriate that I regret now. I wish I'd held it back. We won't say it here, but
But it delivered the message. I don't. So
yes,
it was
it
not
did.
inappropriate.
It's been replayed. He replays it often.
Yep.
For the listeners, you're welcome to go up and ask Dan Baird, what are the two things you should do if you buy your own fire, if you buy your
That's
firewood from 7-Eleven. So
Since we're jumping on Danny here, I did take him to a yoga class once, and he walked out, and he's like, "What'd you think? How'd I do?" And I was like, "Dan, you look like a monkey fucking a football. So whatever you want to do."
Yeah.
He's never been back.
yeah,
But,
yoga's not his
it's
thing.
not for him.
I'll
It's not-
take Dan. I'll take Dan in all the shooting sports. He's a first round draft pick.
absolutely.
Quite a good shot with a shotgun. It has the longest range elk kill from the guide service that we've killed an elk at 453 yards, which is unbelievable with a muzzle loader, like unbelievable. Like 200 yards is a long shot with a muzzle loader. He killed one at 453, which is just kind of head
That,
scratching.
Jesus.
Uh,
But did
I'll
you
take him in
have to
all. I'll take him.
did you
I'll
have
take
to
him in
carry the
all.
elk back for him?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, 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 yeah.
I mean, so does it even count?
Come on, like details. Who needs the details
Yeah.
in the story? Let's
No,
lay off the
no.
details. All
So
right.
Yeah.
so Tom,
The
I
elk.
thought you were gonna
The elk is in my freezer. We'll leave it at that. All right.
All
The
right,
I
elk is
fair
in my
thought you were gonna lead that in with 8, maybe 10 guys could make that shot. It's the only thing he's ever been good at.
well, no, he's good at drinking sports as well.
Okay.
He's
He's
quite good at
solid.
the.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
Olympia. He
solid at the
podiums.
drinking sport.
He podiums
Yes.
in
Did you
those as
not
well.
did nobody get that movie
Also
reference?
first team. Yeah. Also
Yeah, we
early
got.
draft pick.
Okay.
Yep, early. Yeah, you build around that guy.
Yeah.
All
Tom,
right.
this has been awesome. We appreciate it. A lot of great stuff. A life well lived. Thanks again for
Thank
your
you
time.
guys.
And
Yep. Thanks for doing it for us.
yeah, buddy.